while making the lessons better for the teachers to teach as well as for the students. And so one of the things that I really like to do is work with teachers to help them find ways to use tech tools that are available or tech tools that are new in order to make their lives much easier. So one of the challenges that teachers often face is just the amount of time, we're all busy educators, so if only our job was just teaching. Of course, being a teacher means that you have a million other things to do, between duties and meetings, communicating with parents, providing emotional support to students. All of those things take up a lot of time. And for me personally, I feel like one of the things that would sometimes get cut during a busy day would be prep time. And so even though there might be prep time built into my schedule, I found that sometimes if there was something extra that would come up, or maybe there was just too many things going on in the classroom, and I would find myself taking home a lot of prep work, doing that on the evenings and weekends. And so that was one of the challenges I face, is how to be more efficient and still find a better work-life balance, even with having sometimes taking some of that work home. A lot of teachers, it's estimated according to studies that teachers can spend 7 to 12 hours weekly in preparing material. And even I think especially for new teachers, even for experienced teachers, of course, even if you already have established curriculum, you still end up spending time, in differentiating that, in adding new information, new activities, making it still, keeping it engaging for the learners as well. And of course, creating a lot of those resources is what takes a lot of time. So I'm very excited by the promise of AI and some of these new tools that we have available, just in how they're able to help us be more efficient. So, why this matters, like I said, a lot of times teachers find themselves with a very busy workload, and obviously the best lessons are ones that have been well prepared. So AI is able to help teachers reduce the prep time and also free up more time for focusing on all the other things that they do. The other thing that I find is it's really good, especially if you have special cases in your classroom that need more accessibility, more differentiation, even just having some of the AI tools that can help you brainstorm ways to better meet the needs of those students. It's a great resource, along with other professionals that you may be working with at your school. And also, of course, one of the things that I'm going to show you today is how to produce more professional quality resources quickly, ones that look more professional, that are going to be better than, your handwritten notes that you might have, or your handouts that you may have even done just on a simple word processor or even by hand. So today's goals, really, we have 3 goals. I am going to show you 5 different tools. We're going to focus on 3 of them and 2 bonus tools. I'm going to give you some tips and advice and tell you some of the things that these tools are good for and some of the limitations that these tools have and where they may actually not be the best option. And we are going to do a step-by-step guide. My goal for you today is that you'll be able to walk away with some tools that you can implement and some ideas about how you can quickly use these tools and really begin using them right away in your classroom. So I believe it's really important. Of course, we're preparing our students for the future, and as educators, it's important for us to also be embracing the future and the technology and the changes that it brings so that we can be better teachers and in turn help our students better. So the 3 tools that I would like to look at today are ChatGPT, which I'm sure many, if not all of you, are familiar with and have used before. But I want to show you some different ways that you can use ChatGPT that you may not have been familiar with. We'll also be looking at Magic School. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Magic School. It offers a lot of great resources. And then we're going to be also looking at Diffit, which is another great tool, especially for English educators. And then we'll be looking at 2 other tools, not in quite as much depth, but we'll be looking at Canva and Eduate and how they are able to help produce, especially with some of the more handouts or different types of printable materials or ones that are a bit more aesthetically pleasing. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So ChatGPT, as you know, it's a large language model. It simulates human-like conversations, and it generates its content based on prompts. So really the main thing that makes ChatGPT so useful is the prompting. This is the one area that if you're going to invest more time into learning some of these tools, I highly recommend doing experimenting with prompts. I also keep a document on my computer where I've kept prompts that work for me. So once I find something that works, sometimes I'll even ask ChatGPT to help me to develop a good prompt for what it is that I'm looking for. Like I said, the prompting is really the key here. And once you get more familiar with using large language models like ChatGPT or other chatbots, you tend to find out what works well. And different tools respond differently. So ChatGPT is very flexible, so it can adjust the tone, format, and complexity. You can ask to make it longer. Even if you have the free version, it comes with quite a few benefits. But if you personally or if your school has access to the paid version, it does allow you to upload more files and to do more integrations, for example, with Google Drive, and to use it opens up so you can use it in a more powerful way, but even the free version still offers a lot of great options. So I find that some of the best uses of ChatGPT are really more in the brainstorming portion of things. I use ChatGPT extensively to create material for different topics, such as the classes that I teach with public speaking or to help students with, even if I'm brainstorming, maybe I was recently teaching a class on Greek mythology. And so I brainstorm ways that students could do, even just on the fly, sometimes unscramble activities with some of the vocabulary they had or running different scenarios. I find it's really useful. I almost always have it open just to help brainstorm. Sometimes when I'll think of like a fun way to add a new little activity, or if we finish the class early, what's an extension that we can do. So I find it's very helpful to have it just by my side as I'm teaching, or as students ask a lot of great questions, and it allows you to help students find answers to any of the questions they might come up with very quickly. It's not as great. One of the caveats I think is and we're going to take a look at it here in a second, is that you can actually produce documents of different types that you can download. I don't find that it works necessarily best for some of those. I find that you can do it. However, there are better tools in terms of creating rubrics, or it helps you come up with the ideas, but when it comes to actually implementing them, sometimes I'll actually take some of the ideas from ChatGPT and plug it into another tool to create the actual final document. So let me go ahead and switch over to sharing my screen here. I apologize. I don't often use Teams, so it does take me just 1 second here. Try sharing again. Okay. So this is, as you know, ChatGPT. One of the things that I wanted to take a look at today is in using, there's a few ways. I wanted to specifically look at using a custom GPT as well as the canvas. So if I'm going to create a custom GPT, then you can go here on the side to GPT, create, and then it can actually help you. You can actually tell it what it is that you want to do, and it can help you to create that. Or if you've already decided, I actually already typed something up. And so I'm just going to copy paste that in here. So one of the things you can do here is you can actually even dictate what it is your role is and how you want ChatGPT to also assist you. So you can tell it, for example, if there's a specific age group that you have, if you teach online versus in person, you can specify the type of technology that you have in your classroom. So for example, some of the classes I teach are online, but we typically don't use breakout rooms because it's a small group. Like sometimes I only have 2 to 6 students. So I will tell it, instead of doing a breakout room, just do think, pair, share within the main session. Or you can tell it to apply certain standards. I'm going to show you some other tools I think work a little bit better with those standards, but you can specify specific standards. And then you can also add a description. So here, curriculum assistant. And like I said, you can actually also upload files. So if there are specific handouts or things that maybe your school has that's very specific to how it is that you teach, or something, if you want to even upload your syllabus or rubrics or any of the text that you want to use, you can actually upload those. So what you do is then you can click on create. One of the things that you can do is, if you have tweaked ChatGPT to be really efficient and to work for you and your context, if you have other teachers or colleagues that are in the same department, you can actually share that. So I have used that in the past when I found something that works for me. Sometimes I'll share prompts that I found that are effective, or I will share even the GPT itself. So you can actually go in and create the GPT, and then let's just go to view it. Okay. And then, like I said, you can create full lesson plans with objectives, materials, activities, differentiation strategies, assessment ideas. There's a lot of different options that you have. Even beyond curriculum design, of course, it can even help you with drafting, an email to parents, for example. So one of the things, I'm just going to give it a prompt here. And by the way, so my background is in teaching English and EAL. So I apologize. I wanted to really show everyone that you can use these tools no matter what type of teacher you are. So if you're an early childhood educator, or if you're a 12th grade science teacher, no matter what subject you're teaching and no matter what age group you're teaching, I think these tools can be useful for everyone. So I'm going to use I wanted to have a variety of examples across different subjects. But so if some of them are, you're like, a science teacher and you think, oh, I wouldn't teach that in that unit or use those vocabulary words, or I really tried to use a variety of different subjects. So I apologize because I'm not a science teacher or a math teacher, an art teacher, but I wanted to use some examples just to show you, no matter what type of teacher or age group you work with, these tools can be effective. So I am just going to put a prompt in here. So let's say we're going to design a 1-hour class for a 6th grade social studies class on ancient civilization, and aligned to NCSS standards. So you could also specify a particular unit, like let's say you're going to teach ancient Egypt, and then let's say you want to say, like I said, the prompting is really what's key here. So how long is it? What age group? What standards do you want to use? You can also specify, oh, actually, I want to add formative assessment and a 20-minute interactive activity. So you give it the prompt, as you know, it generates that. One of the things that I like to do at this point is to have it side by side, the ChatGPT, as well as to be able to look at the document. So what I'll ask it to do is open the canvas. And once it opens a canvas, so this allows you to have sort of a split view. So one of the things that you can do is click on edit at the top. So this will allow you to still make edits. So on the right side is really the document that you're working with. And then you can actually prompt it as well. So you can say, add in another individual writing activity. Let's say you want them to do that will take about 10 minutes. Let's say you're going to add in another activity, then it will adapt to that. And then you can see it's just a little bit easier also in terms of scrolling. If you have the prompting and instructions on the left side, then you're able to see the document more clearly on the right side. Like I said, you can also, so it's generating that. You can go back to different version histories. So it's still generating, so I don't think it's going to show me right now. We'll have to wait for it to finish. So here it does give some differentiation. If you need to customize it even more, if you have a specific student in mind that you know has certain accommodations that you need to provide, then you can also specify that. Like I said, you can go here, previous version. You can download it either in, for example, a PDF or a Word document. Personally, I sometimes download things from ChatGPT, but sometimes I'll even just go here to copy it and use it and just copy paste it into maybe some other notes or documents that I have. One of the other things, so if you want to get out of let's say this was the first lesson. So let's say then I come back to it. I'm ready to develop lesson 2. You can click on this X to close it, and then you can ask it, make a new document for lesson 2. Another thing that I like to do is before I tell it to just go, I might say, give me some ideas for the next 3 lessons and what we can cover. And then you can specify, we're going to cover ancient Egypt and ancient China, for example. And so you can specify what it is that you want to cover. Sometimes before it spends all the time drafting, see, so this is all on ancient Egypt. So you can stop and say, no, actually, I want to also cover ancient China. So then it's all very adaptable. And like I said, you can actually, I prefer if I'm going to do different lessons, rather than put them all in the same document or keep it in the chat, it's much easier if you organize it using the canvas. And one of the things that you can also do here is, let me show you. Okay, so if you click here on Open Canvas, it actually shows you all the ones you have. So this is a much easier way to organize it rather than keep everything, as many of you probably have seen. Sometimes the chat gets so long, and then if you have many chats opened up, then you can't find like, where is it? So I find it's really easy to keep I'll name the chat with what the topic is, and then I'll also be able to see here in the canvas. You can actually even rename the canvas. So if you want to say like lesson 1, for example, this just makes it a lot easier to stay organized. So let me see. I think those were all the tips that I had. Just a few cautions or tips here. Like I said, the visuals sometimes are not very polished, just in terms of if you download it, it still may require some formatting or reformatting. As with any of these tools, hallucinations and factual errors are possible. Obviously, you still need to fact check what it is that you're teaching. Don't take it as 100% truth. Much like Wikipedia, it's a great place to start, but definitely need to fact check. Like I said, the prompting is key. You need to be really specific. If you see it making errors, to be specific, point those out. If it's how you want it to be presented and the structure, you can also coach it on that. Sometimes I find ChatGPT sounds a bit corporate, almost like it's more like clients instead of students sometimes. Sometimes, especially like sometimes in generating feedback to the students, I'll just like quickly type notes and ask ChatGPT to help me type my notes into a longer paragraph. And with, I often will just type and not worry about punctuation and spelling, and I'll have ChatGPT help to really flesh out the sentences. But I often will have to coach it. No, it needs to sound more like a teacher, more like a student-friendly voice. Sometimes it will also reference, it will tell you, oh, you need to have this material provided. You need give students a handout on something, and you may not have that handout. So you could say, well, give me an idea of a handout I could produce. What should it look like? All right. Now I want to, let me just go back here. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I'm not as Familiar with Teams. There we go. Okay. So the next one I want to talk about is Magic School. I have any of you, I'm curious, you can send me a message in the chat. Have any of you used Magic School before? It is a really handy tool. I find it's very teacher friendly. The good thing and the bad thing about ChatGPT is it has access to kind of everything. So ChatGPT is a much larger language model that can really adapt to a lot of different environments. Magic School, the I feel like is a little bit more limited in its knowledge and application, which can be a good thing and bad thing. So if you're looking for a really broad tool, ChatGPT excels at that. If you're looking at something that's really designed specifically for teachers, Magic School is definitely a better tool in terms of that. So it has everything from unit planning, accommodation checklist. I mean, it even has jokes in there. If you want to tell students a teacher joke, you can use it for that. I'm going to show you some of there's way too many things. We could talk for hours just about all the tools that Magic School has. It's a great thing to really spend some time and explore, but I'm just going to show you a few tools today. So I find that it's really good at designing things quickly. Like I said, it's very much aligned to what it is that teachers need to do. The creators of Magic School are clearly guided by teachers themselves and the types of tasks that teachers are busy with. Again, you can save it, edit, and export it. Some of the handouts I think it does a little bit better than ChatGPT, but still sometimes the handouts could be a little bit wordy, or sometimes some of the formatting, it's not 100% the best. I'm going to show you at the end of today. We're going to look at one more tool that does a little bit better with handouts. And again, all of these things are adjustable. So if you need to adjust reading level, length, or any of those things, it's really effective. So let me go back. Oops, not this one. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to close ChatGPT. Let's take a look at Magic School. So Magic School has a lot of different tools. You can actually, I mean, you could spend all day just going through it, and still you would need probably not all the tools teachers will necessarily need or use all of them, but there's really so many that I would encourage you to experiment with. So let's say one of the things I really like is the social stories. So this is a great way that you can actually have students even imagine create a story. So maybe let's take the example of ancient Egypt. Let's say sixth grade, a day in the life of an ancient Egyptian pyramid builder with 10 plus vocabulary words relevant to ancient Egypt and ancient civilizations. If you want, you can also add files here. So if there's a particular, for example, if there was something that you wanted to use, you can add it there. So you can add in if there's a particular reading that you want it to be similar to, then you can do that. So it's going to generate some different, like a different way to, a reading activity. And again, all of this is customizable. You can also ask it, create 5 multiple choice questions at the end. And then it will ask, so it designs like a reading activity along with comprehension. And then again, you can share it here, or you can download it. You can choose how it is that you want to use it. So if you want to use it in Docs or Word, I find that these tools are really good if, like I said, whether you have a very well-equipped classroom where you have a smart board and all the students have devices, or if you're in a classroom where you don't have any technology available to you, I think these tools can be adaptable to any situations. And you can actually change the language too. So I see this one, I have not tried using the tools in different languages. I'm going to show you some other tools as well that actually do, they will produce them. I haven't tried it, but that's definitely something where you could try to change it to a different language as well. Okay, so one of the other tools is, let me just go back here to my notes. Another one is with worksheets. Like I said, worksheets I found they do have some limitations. Let's say you were going to teach a math class and you're going to teach place values up to 1,000. This is something where, especially with some of the younger students, or like with math, you can see, I'm just going to show you, like I said, some of the things it can do, but some of the limitations. Personally, would I use this worksheet? Not really. I don't find that, for example, for younger learners, it can be too wordy. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard, like the formatting, I think it maybe isn't as good for certain subjects or for certain age groups. So that would be one of the more limitations. I also want to show you, if you do have technology available in the classroom where you're showing videos often, this is a really great tool. Let's say you're going to teach an upper class about climate change. The one thing you have to do is, let me just show you an example, is you will not be able to just copy the link. So you are going to actually need to go to the transcript. So what you'll need to do is, it asks you, you need to copy in the transcript, and it does tell you here how you can do it. But let's say if you wanted to make some questions for video, you need to go down here into the description and then go down to the bottom and where it says show transcript. Unfortunately, it's not, I don't know why YouTube has made it a little bit hard to copy. It's not, I don't know, you can sometimes accidentally get the whole page on here, but you can copy the transcript of the video. And actually, you can copy this transcript into ChatGPT as well. And you can ask it, can you summarize this? Or does this mention something else? So it even can save you time in planning like certain videos rather than watching the whole time. You can just see at the beginning, okay, is this going to work for me? And then you can actually spend the time to watch it if it seems promising. So once you do that, you can plug in the transcript. You can choose different types of questions, true, false, open-ended, multiple choice, and then it can generate different types of questions. And again, you can adapt this to different grade levels as well. So let me go back to... So I see you guys asked about, could we translate it? I think you can. I have not tried it with this one. I'm going to show you another tool that is, I think, probably a little bit more adaptable in terms of different languages. So let me just see my notes here. Oh yes, one other thing. There's so much I want to show you, but I realize that the time is going by very quickly. You can also do, for example, that has Jeopardy games. So if you're an EAL teacher wanting to review irregular past tense, it can come up with a Jeopardy board. The one thing is, though, it will show the questions. So I would probably use it more just to generate the questions, but still like actually write on the board, like the 100, 200, 300. Another tool that you can use is a choice board. So let's say if you were teaching even an art class. So here we can go to the choice board, and let's say you're going to teach grade 4, and maybe it's about color theory. Again, I'm not an art teacher. I don't know the types of things that are usually taught in 4th grade art, but let's say students should have 6 choices, and all choices must be producing a work of art of some sort. So it can even come up with different ideas of choice boards. If you want to give students the option for a final project, it can do that. If you're an early childhood educator, if you're teaching, for example, phonics, as I did for many years, you might think about, well, what is it that maybe you're looking for a phonics passage. So maybe you're taught the students a particular skill, like maybe you're teaching them R blends. It can help generate text, and you can specify, like maybe you've taught students short vowels and digraphs, but you haven't taught them L blends or R blends. So you can specify the type of text you want to generate as well. One of the other tools I really like to use it for is rubric generators. So let's say right now I'm teaching a 9th grade class on argumentative essays, and maybe I want them to have a claim, evidence, reasoning, and strong introduction and conclusion, and include 5, or let's say include 3 outside resources. So, and then you can choose the standards you want it to align to, and then it will generate a rubric. Again, this is something that I think does do well with exporting it and downloading it. And then if you need to make any changes, of course, that's where you can do the prompting here, upload any documents. So if you have the assignment that you gave students, the assignment document, you can send it there. All right, let me go back to the next tool. Okay. So the next main tool that I wanted to show you today is Diffit. This one is especially good, I feel like, for language arts teachers. So it really does well with level text, vocabulary lists. There's even books loaded into the system, which I'm going to show you. So that's very helpful. Also, it does have the option for different languages that you can choose. And then again, you can export the worksheets in different formats. So if your students have access to Google Classroom, and if you're in a high-tech classroom, you can even assign things, through Google Docs, through Google Classroom, if you're trying to save paper, or if you need printable, if you need a printable document, it can also do that. So it really is good, like I mentioned, for differentiating by level. If you're doing a novel study, it's really good, and it's very adaptable. So I think this is a very exciting tool to use as an English teacher. Let me go back and share. Here we go. All right. So with Diffit, what I'm going to show you is if you're doing a novel study, for example, let's say Wonder, and you're teaching grade 4 students, you actually don't even need to type anything in here. This is where I was mentioning you can actually do it in different languages. Again, I haven't not attempted that, but if you needed to translate something to a different language, if you're a foreign language teacher, or if you have students that are new learners that come into your classroom and need some assistance, you could translate this into different languages. Some of the things are locked behind a paid feature. So if you're a teacher of other subjects, you can see if you feel that this is a tool that's worth it. Definitely if you're a language arts teacher and you're planning on doing a lot of books or novel studies, I think this is something that would be a worthy investment. So it is, again, they give you a couple chapters you can preview, but then you will need to upgrade to a paid version to have access to the whole book. So all you do with a novel study is you just click the name of the book, and it's going to automatically come up with a lot of different sources here. So you can see it comes up with a reading summary, vocabulary, multiple choice questions, as well as short answers, think, pair, share, character traits. I mean, it's amazing. And all of these are adaptable. So what you can do is you can change the reading length. If you want it to change, you can even change the whole activity. So for example, with vocabulary, if you want to focus more on academic vocabulary, or if you want to focus more on content vocabulary, you can do that. And then, so you can modify what it is that's on the screen, as well as change the activity completely. So if you want to do the Freyer model of vocabulary, if you want to add images, if you want to add in parts of speech, I mean, it really has so many different amazing tools. You can also go down here to the bottom and click add activity. And as you can see, there's just so many that you have access to. So reading strategies, writing, text analysis, collaboration. Like I said, this is a tool that I think is probably a bit more useful for language arts teachers, but I still find that there's other options here for other subjects. So let me just show you what that would look like. So let's say you were going to teach vocabulary, and let me just I had a prompt saved here. So it's a little bit limited, like I said, for some math or some technical subjects, but let's say you were teaching grade 10. Again, I'm not a science teacher. I don't know if these are words that are normally grouped together, but let's just say you're teaching biology class. You can actually go in here to vocabulary, generate resources. I find it's really good, especially for example, if you wanted to add vocabulary and add some pictures to it or add different activities. Um, all teachers have some sort of vocabulary that students that's new to students. We're all in a way language teachers when we're teaching students about the subject. So what you can do so it can even generate, for example, a reading activity, or with some of the vocabulary. One thing I wanted to show you is you can go in here to change the activity, and you can even have ones, it will generate, for example, different images. So if you wanted to, for example, look at genotype versus phenotype to help students have a visual to understand that, it's very easy to go in and find things. And yes, absolutely, for a language teacher, that is something that would be useful. For math, it's still, like I said, I think there are certain limitations. I don't know that you would use some of these things for math, but I think it would also work well for interdisciplinary. So if you're trying to do a unit that would involve maybe math and science, and also have some reading components in there, like a project-based learning or interdisciplinary unit, it would do very well with that. So let me see if there's anything else. All right, let's go on to EduAid. So these are the two bonus tools that I promised we would talk about today. Here we go. So here is a couple other tools. These ones are the ones that are better for creating handouts. So like I said, the first three tools that I've shown you today are really good in terms of brainstorming, and like I said, Diffit is very good with creating handouts. But Magic School, I feel like Magic School has its limitations. EduAid is very similar to Magic School, but I feel like it performs a lot better in terms of well-designed handouts and better concept maps. The worksheets just look a lot better. So let me show you what that looks like very quickly. Okay. So this is, again, another very, very powerful tool for teachers across all different ages and different topics. So you can see there's a few main categories. So planning, presenting, practice, group activities, questions, assessments, feedback, even admin tasks. So there's a lot of options there. If you were going to, for example, if you wanted to do a project-based learning prompt, so let's say if you were going to do some sort of lesson that was, if you wanted it to generate a specific type of lesson, it can do that. If you're a new teacher, it also has a direct instruction script. So if you really need it more, let's say we take the same prompt about ancient civilization, for example. If you need it, if you're a new teacher and you're not sure how to teach something, it will almost write a script for you. Like I said, if you're an experienced teacher, you may not find this as helpful, but for new teachers, I think this would be a great tool. It also can even do, for example, just different activities, group activities. Like let's say we were going to do, just gonna stop it there. Sorry, it's taking some time to generate. Let's say if you're going to do a Socratic seminar, and let's say you're going to do it about the civil rights movement, and with, let's say, high school students. So it will actually tell you how to run the Socratic seminar. The other thing that I like is it will even suggest materials that you need. So some primary text that you can incorporate and find, and it will tell you the handouts to prepare. I think this is really useful for planning. However, the thing that I think, like I said, it's very similar to Magic School. The thing that I think it does best are the right here, the organizers. So it can create Venn diagrams. So if I was going to go back to, for example, the characters that I had in the novel Wonder, it can create a Venn diagram. Again, here it also has the Freyer model. Let's say I was going to teach Wonder, compare Jack and August. I just wanted to show you how it can do that. All of this is customizable. So if it's going to be something you print, you can leave the name and date on there. If you plan on using this digitally, like assigning it to students on Google Classroom, or even just screenshotting it, putting it in some slides where you don't need the name and date, then you can take it off. It exports as a PDF here, and you can actually connect it as well to, for example, some of these connect even just within your Google Drive, and it will send them there. And there's different options here if you wanted a third circle, if you wanted different tools. All of these, we're limited by time. I want to quickly get through the one last tool, but there's really a lot to play around with here. Also, it does games, so word searches. That's another great way to, if you have vocabulary lists and you want students to learn, to have a fun way to practice it, it generates a word search, even comes with an answer key. Finally, Canva is one that you're probably familiar with. One thing I wanted to recommend is if you have not already, definitely sign up. I don't know if any of you have used Canva before, or if you have you used the teacher version? Highly recommend just in getting verified as a teacher, because I've already done it, so it's not going to do anything if I click on it, but it opens up a lot more tools for you if you verify as a teacher. So I highly recommend getting verified. And just quickly, let me go through one more thing I wanted to show you. If you have students, you can actually set it up to where there's classwork. Students can turn things into you. You can actually assign things directly. It does have Canva AI, but I will say this, I feel like sometimes, like, let's say if you're going to generate something about the water cycle and an infographic, it honestly sometimes, like if you ask it to generate something, it doesn't turn out that great sometimes. So I find it's better just to type in, for example, water cycle infographic, let's say. There's already so many things that are already beautifully designed that you can find here. There's also, if you look, there's even, if you go into, they even have some for education. They already have activities and templates that are already here. So let me just wrap up very quickly. One of the
Right, Kim.
things, like, yes?
Yeah, our time is up. If you can just wrap up, please.
Sure. Yes. So like I said, I think that Canva is really, it does better for things that are where aesthetics do matter more. My final advice is know when less is more. You're the teacher, you're the expert. Invest the time into learning the tools, but of course, it's something where you're going to know best what's better for your students. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to make connections with other teachers. And are there any questions that anyone has? Yes, I will talk to Rotimi and see how I can share the slides. I'll share the slide deck and my notes if possible.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Kimberly. It was such a fun time. Thank you for your time, and thank you
All
for
right,
sharing.
thank you so much. All right, thank you.
All right. All right. All right. Please let's celebrate her and appreciate her for her time.